Welcome to Obi-Wan Studios, and today I am really excited to say I have the 6210 Jabba's Sail Barge to unseal and review for you guys. This being the very first LEGO Jabba Sail Barge ever. It released in the summer of 2006 for $75 and retired at the end of 2007. As for the value of a sealed example today, it's about $630 based on sales data from Brick Economy, so it has sure increased in price over the years. The original Jabba Sail Barge comes with 781 pieces and 8 total figures, but they are not displayed on the front of the box. We actually have to turn to the top of it to take a look at them. We have Jabba the Hutt, Princess Leia, Han Solo, R2-D2, Boba Fett, Lando Calrissian, Luke Skywalker, and a Gamorrean guard, making for an unreal lineup of minifigs in this set. Now, taking a quick look at the box before we unseal the set, this one is really cool because it has this ever so slight 3D effect going on where all of the builds and minifigs have a shine to them, and then the different pieces that are actually used to make them shine are just raised up a little bit from the box compared to the just flat kind of matte backdrop of the Dune Sea, and it just looks so cool this way with that just tiny bit of 3D texturing going on the front. Also in the front, we have a look at how the sail barge opens up to show off the interior, right in the spot where we're used to seeing the minifigs displayed on more modern boxes. And then turning that box around, we have quite a busy back with a larger shot of the barge opened up. And then we have a bunch of the set's play features highlighted, and also 2 alternative builds shown, like this monster and pirate ship with Leia being used as the figurehead of the ship, which I just think is so funny that that's actually what they did there. Then the other build is representing Jabba's palace, which is actually a pretty cool concept for an alternative build from a sail barge set to make some sort of Jabba's palace out of it. And then lastly, we have some of those other sets advertised on the back. Now that leaves me with the task of unsealing this set and building it. If you are new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, if you appreciate the fact that I'm going to unseal the original Jabba Sail Barge for you guys, please hit that button. I would really appreciate it. So as I was unsealing the set and about to open it in my usual fashion, I realized that all of the contents were in a cardboard insert, so laying it now flat on my table, I can safely take everything out. And I also thought it would be fun to document the full unboxing experience and taking out all of the contents for the original Jabba Sail Barge set. Right away I noticed the one sail was kind of on top of everything, and it was pretty bent up and just not in the best condition, so that certainly was a bit disappointing, but I didn't expect them to come out fully in perfect condition, that's for sure. Taking some of the bags out, you can just see in here some pieces to that original Boba Fett minifig, which is just such a callback to my childhood. And then taking out the sticker sheet, this is one as well that I was really hoping would come out in good condition. Unfortunately, the one corner there is pretty bent, and at least 2 of the stickers are in questionable condition. Hopefully they'll work just fine, but that definitely has me a little bit nervous seeing these 2 here a bit bent. Then there is that Jabba the Hutt Big Fig body just loose inside of this tray as well. Really exciting and just such a callback to those characters from my childhood that I used to have. And then inside as well, there were a bunch of these black pipe pieces just loose. Years of them getting squished and pushed up to the sides by all of the different pieces inside of the box. Unfortunately means a few of them are a bit bent and scuffed up. One is rather bent, so hopefully these are used for the railing on top of the sail barge, so hopefully you can just kind of bend and place them in and it'll form to the proper shape. But that definitely, again, is another just bit of a disappointing thing to have experienced right out of opening up the box. And then sorting through all of the other bags as well, we move along to the second sail piece, which this one was tucked pretty nicely underneath everything, and its condition is a lot better than that first one I pulled out. So we're 1 for 2 in terms of the sails coming out in good condition, I would say. And then we have the instructions manual, and this actually came out in a lot better condition than I expected it to, if I'm being honest. The front looks really great, no tears or really any wrinkles at all in it. It looks pretty great. Flipping it open, just taking a peek at those first couple of pages, you see the minifigs all being built there. Overall, I'm actually very pleased with the condition that the instructions manual came out in, that's for sure. The back has a bunch of sets that I used to have from my childhood, like I mentioned on the box. All those sets are featured on there. It just looks really cool and just really is hitting me with a ton of nostalgia right now. But that concludes the entire unboxing experience for the original Jabba Sail Barge. I hope you guys enjoyed. Alright, with everything built, let's go over the figures, and our first is Jabba the Hutt. While this is that classic big fig Jabba, he definitely shows his age since there is no printing or any other color for detail other than that sand green. That said, I do still have a lot of nostalgia for this version of Jabba the Hutt, and I think he looks pretty good overall for the time, and he's sized nicely beside our next minifig, which is Princess Leia. Now this Slave Leia version looks pretty solid all around. The one area that just doesn't totally work for me is that hairpiece. It was okay for the time, not super great even back then, but by today's standards, it just misses the mark. It's definitely not accurate. Besides the hairpiece, the rest of her does look really good. We have a simple face print, and then the clip under her head for the chain to attach to looks good, and it's nice that's added in there. But the printing for her outfit is what looks really, really good. The quality is great, and the red waist piece and leg printing really just completes the whole look overall. With that clip removed, you can see that there is no back printing, but that's just to be expected for this time in LEGO Star Wars, and none of the minifigs in the set have back printing, in fact. Overall, I think she's a great Leia minifig and a strong start to the minifigs in this set. Next is Han Solo, and we have a just good looking, just out of carbonite Han. The face print looks fine and his outfit is accurate enough. No complaints with this version of Han Solo from me. Then we have our R2-D2 ready to serve drinks aboard the sail barge. We have a pretty standard looking R2 with the full head print and front printing, and then a simple 2x4 plate acting as the drinks tray with two glasses on top. It works, and overall R2-D2 looks pretty good. No back printing again, as just to be expected, but overall this is a fine version of R2-D2. Then we have our Boba Fett, and this classic version of Boba Fett I will never not love. The helmet and jetpack piece looks so good, and the helmet's printing is just so well done. All of the detail added in, I think, looks fantastic. Underneath it, we have a blank black head and then no back printing as well, but the blank black headpiece just finishes off the look with the helmet on. I think the printing on the front of the torso looks really good with that brown waist piece against the gray legs. I'm just a fan of how that all looks, but this is just such a great Boba Fett minifig and one of my favorites. Our next minifig is Lando Calrissian in his skiff guard disguise, and the very first version of him like this ever. The helmet mold is pretty good overall, but it is one solid gray color, so while the mold itself looks really good, the lack of detail on that helmet ages him quite a bit. The face print underneath I think is fine, nothing crazy looking, but fine enough, and he has a pretty good looking print for his armor too. Overall, I'm a fan of how that looks. I think Lando is a good minifig who unfortunately just shows his age a bit with that helmet. Next is our Luke Skywalker, of course, in the all-black Return of the Jedi robe outfit. His hairpiece is that classic Luke hair, which was totally fine for the time and something I do have some nostalgia for, just seeing that classic Luke Skywalker hair. Oh man. The Luke face print I think looks fine as well, and then we have our robe printing, which looks good. It's just some gray lines to show details in the all-black robes. Nothing too complicated. Overall, just a great Return of the Jedi Luke minifig. Lastly, we have our Gamorrean Guard, and I just love the original versions of these. The mold for them in the sand green I think looks so great, and it's another part to the set that I just have a lot of nostalgia for. While it does lack printing detail over the mold for the Gamorrean Guard, I think it still looks really good, and overall it's just that classic Gamorrean Guard. How can you not love it? Now in terms of accessories, we have Luke with his lightsaber with that glorious chrome hilt, Boba has a classic blaster, and then both Lando and the Gamorrean Guard get vibro axes. Taking our minifigs all together, I certainly have a lot of nostalgia for some of them. I think the lineup of characters is pretty much perfect, Chewbacca really being the one character that I can see being missing from this list. Other than that, what a great lineup. Most of the minifigs do show their age in some aspect or another, but they still overall look good today. It's that blend of modern features at the time, but also some of those classic elements as well. That adds a lot of charm, I think, to all of these minifigs. I think the main thing here in terms of what does age everything, though, is just being lack of printing on Jabba, the Gamorrean Guard, and then Lando's helmet. Those details are just what really does age the set in terms of those minifigs. And in my mind, 2006, it felt like they should have all been printed and just have had more details onto these things, but clearly that wasn't the case. Overall, it's just a great selection of some classic Return of the Jedi minifigs. What a great start to this set. Now taking a look at our builds, we have 3 of them in this set because this is the complete Sarlacc pit scene. How awesome is that? We have the Sarlacc pit, the desert skiff, and then of course Jabba's sail barge. Honestly, it's just pretty incredible to get all of these in one set without having to buy separate ones to complete the scene. Starting off with our Sarlacc pit build first, and it's a simple build, but it does look pretty good. You have some depth created with the pit walls and then all of the teeth of the Sarlacc around it, and then the center mouth of the Sarlacc can open and close, and then also spin around 360 degrees. I can tell Boba Fett won't fit in the jaws closed there as there just isn't enough space, but if you position him just right, you can have him being held in the jaws of the Sarlacc, which sure looks good. This is a simple Sarlacc build overall, but it looks good, and for the first version of it LEGO ever made, it's cool to see how the core design was improved upon over the years. Of course, hovering over that Sarlacc pit is our desert skiff. Now, right away once I built this desert skiff, I thought, it feels kind of small, and I definitely still feel this way. It's just a bit too slim, I think, for what I would have wanted out of a desert skiff build. At the front, we have a nice looking sticker to give it some detail, and then we have the plank, which to swing out, you just push this little tile inwards that sticks out, and then you have the plank extend. You have studs to place Luke on it as well, which is certainly a nice touch. In the back end of the skiff, we have a spot for someone to control it with a little stickered control panel too for just a little bit more detail. Then there are the 2 steering vanes, one on each side, which the design of them I think looks pretty good overall, and you can tilt them a decent amount too since they sit on these hinge pieces, so there is some posability and play features incorporated into those steering vanes. And then the skiff stands on some transparent pieces to have it float in the air above this sand plate, so the entire skiff build is very sturdy the way it has this stand incorporated into it. There is enough room to put a few minifigs on it, but posing them is where it does get rather tight. It's just not wide enough to really allow you to pose them really in any creative way. So this is just to show how the skiff size doesn't quite work in my opinion. So it is a decent little build, but I just think it should have been just a bit bigger. And now we have our main build, the sail barge. And right away, I want to address one thing that you might have already noticed. I'm missing the front railing for the top part of the top section of the barge. I double checked the box, all of the bags, and the table and area where I built it, but it's just nowhere to be found. So that is a real shame, unfortunately, and I've already placed an order for this part on Bricklink, but I didn't want to wait to get this review out to have that final piece. Now with that missing piece out of the way, I think this sail barge is rather good looking. For a build from 2006, it quite honestly holds up pretty well against today's standards. Also, all of these brown pieces were totally fine. I had no issues with them cracking or anything, which I was a little bit surprised with. I know the worst offenders are the browns that were produced in the kind of mid-2010s from my understanding of things, but I was still expecting the worst, but everything turned out absolutely fine. At the very top of the sail barge, we have those 2 sails. The front one being that wrinkled one I showed when I was unboxing everything, and I'm still hoping it unwrinkles a bit more as time goes on. Maybe I have to just take it off and place it under some heavy objects to help flatten it out, but the 2 of them together do look pretty good, and I'm just going to treat it as this one's just flowing in the wind or something like that. The detail in both of them I think looks really great, and thanks to those Technic trees that they're attached to, you can pose them in pretty much any way you'd like. Now the entire top deck section of the sail barge is decently spacious with these black pipe pieces acting as the railing, and at the very front Besides that missing railing piece, we have this little launcher for Boba Fett where you can reenact him jetpacking over onto the desert skiff to fight Luke Skywalker. It's a cool play feature, but doesn't look that good for display purposes, and the one kind of quirk is that the front sail actually quite easily gets in the way of you trying to launch Boba Fett, so you have to play around with its positioning to actually get Boba to fly really anywhere and not get caught in the sail. So a fun play feature, but has its quirks and just, it doesn't work the best kind of in its intended functionality. In the middle of the deck, we have this small hatch which can open up, and I'm not exactly sure the purpose of this as it's not functional, but it looks fine and adds some more detail to the top deck. And then there is that main laser cannon build. It can tilt up and down a little bit, and then it can also rotate around, but it will either hit the railings or the back sail post, so it can't turn around a full 360 degrees, but overall, I think it looks rather good. Now, what I think is pretty cool about this set's design is how the front section uses these inverted larger pieces to create the slope of the front section, and then the top part of the deck actually attaches in separately with Technic, so you get the top studs right side up. It just overall was a pretty clever way to make this all come together, as you guys can see here me piecing it back together. Just how they thought of this was pretty clever, and it works pretty well. Now, the side panels of the sail barge all look very good. We have the vast majority of our stickers on these side and rear panels. The hatches do open up for the windows, but in order to open them up, you first have to pull the main kind of sides down and then push them open from the inside a little bit just to get a grip on them. You can see some of the minifigs inside, but they just aren't the best windows we've ever had on a Lego set. On the sides of the sail barge, we have the larger steering vanes. I think they look fine, but there's no ability to move them around as they are not posable. They are just fixed in place. And then at the very back as well, we have the accurate looking 3-chambered repulsor lift engine. Now, to access the sail barge's interior, the two main side panels just tilt downward on either side of the sail barge. The top section of the barge can come off, but it's not the easiest to access though through there either, and the very back part of the deck I don't think is really intended to actually come off at all for the interior, so the side panels are the main way to access that interior section. The front of the interior is a prisoner cell. It's kind of funny though because it doesn't have a door or anything, so it's just open to the rest of the interior. The sides of the cell can fold downwards, and on the box it shows Luke breaking Han out of the cell this way, so just a cool play feature that's added in for the interior. Doesn't make the most sense though. Outside of the prisoner cell, we have one side which is used to store extra blasters, and then the other has a chest with a frog in it, along with a spider and a barrel with a snake in it, and then some drumsticks hanging from above. To me, all of these pieces kind of make the inside rather dated looking, and it kind of feels like there's just stuff here to just fill up more of the interior space, but hey, it works, and I guess it adds some play features and just some extra detail to the interior. Near the back, we have a section for Jabba to be placed on. He fits in there just fine. Beside his platform, we have the chain to attach Princess Leia to as well, so you can have them both in there, which I think does look pretty good. Lastly, the underside of the barge has inverted tiles, so it does slide around, but they aren't that hidden from the side view. Taking everything in this set all together, wow, what a set concept. Actually getting the complete Sarlacc pit scene in one set is pretty awesome. I do understand why LEGO has stopped doing this and separating both sets, but at the same time, getting it all in one complete set, you just can't help but be a fan of that. So with that all said, would I recommend buying this set today for $630 on average sealed? Well, unless you are a very serious collector, not at all. Of course, I'm going to be comparing this one along with the 75020 sail barge against the upcoming UCS version, so I'll get into which one is actually worth purchasing today in more detail in that video, so make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel if you haven't already and want to see that video when it comes out. Thank you for watching my review of the 6210 Jabba sail barge. As always, let me know your thoughts on the set in the comments down below, and don't forget to check out my YouTube channel for more LEGO Star Wars set reviews.